Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, everyone, this is Will. As always, we'll give everyone a few minutes to join in. Okay, I don't think, Sabs, do we have any pre-submitted? We don't. You're all over it like a mind reader. Thank you. So we don't have any pre-submitted questions today. I also don't have any demos to provide. I know we were talking about that as a team, as a group yesterday. So what questions do we have today? John's got a question. There you go. Yeah, John, you can go ahead and ask your question if you'd like.
Sorry, I sent the question in the last moment. So my question is, actually I have two, but one is, so the question is this: I want to be able to reset some fields on the form. Now I search on the forum and I saw that this can be achieved using the flow, and I know how to do it. It's not a problem. The challenge which I have is, I have already in the data name of the field a workflow, which it's giving me something. So what I try to say is, now if I have to reset the field, I have a conflict now, a competition. I have two workflows. So how to deal with this situation? Hello?
Yes, sorry, just one moment.
Oh, sorry, forgive me. I thought that I was lost.
No, not at all. Okay, so you have a field on a form that a user has entered?
I have a field on the form, and that field in the data name, I have a flow already, which is giving me some value, something. The problem here is I want this field to be reset trigger based on another field. Let's say the country. I changed the country from Canada, USA. I want the field,
right,
the other one from the flow from the form to be reset.
Yeah, got you.
Zero.
I see your question now.
The challenge which I have, I know how to do it. The challenge is I have already a flow in the data name of that field. So how to deal with this situation?
Yeah, you got to use form input data to do this. So, so it'd be input and data flow, data interacting, something like that, right? Let me just build my flow here. And I'll put a form. All right, so I'll build a form. And on this form, I'm going to put a text box and a button. And then I'm going to build a data flow is what you have, right? So I have a data flow. I'm going to build a data flow here. Now my data flow is going to just output hello world, right?
Exactly. Doesn't matter. Yes, you're
right. Okay. And then I'm going to make it constant. It'll always just output the string hello world here.
Correct.
Okay. Then I'll update my inputs. I'll copy that data name, right? Now I'm going to run this on startup, and then I'm going to replace the text box data name with my data flow name, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So really quickly, just to make sure we're agreed on the scenario here. Right now, if I run this, it'll run and it'll show me hello world, right?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. But right now, it won't give me an input, but you need an input and the data flow both. Is that correct?
I know. Imagine you have on the form, you have another field. which
Okay.
is change. Let's say checkbox, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Drop down box. And in the moment when I checkbox, let's say checkbox, when I click on that checkbox, this field with hello world will be reset. Now,
Okay.
that's the scenario. But the question which I have is, I know how to do it. I know how to use the checkbox, how to reset. But you will get a conflict now because you have already a flow in the data name of the field which I'm going to reset. In our case, the ones which hello world.
Yep. Can anyone hear me? Am I back?
Yes, now I hear you.
Okay, I think my headset might have died. Apologies. So I was going to have two drop-down lists, each of which is going to run the same data flow, but be triggered independently. Does that not line up with your scenario here exactly, John?
Yeah, it's good. So you have a drop. You don't need two. You have one. It's enough. One. Once you choose something from the one of these drop-down box, you will reset the field with hello world. The question, how you do this using a flow, because you have already a flow in the data name.
Yeah, but as long as the flow, as long as there's all the flows share the same data name, multiple flows can update the same component. You just have to account for that weird relationship that you can't see anywhere.
No, I understood. But again, in the data name, you have only one spot. You
Yes,
get
but
my point?
Yes, but you can make all of the data flows have the same output data name. You can change the output data name of your data flows to be whatever you want them to be. Did I disconnect from the meeting? Am I screen sharing still?
No, yes, no screen. I cannot see the screen. I can hear you, but not the screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having some significant technical difficulties today. Let me see if I can get logged back on. All right, here we go. All right, let me reshare. Sorry, this is quite the day. I guess I should have paid attention to that battery light on my headset sooner. All right.
So in order to do an update against the field, the flow, the output of the flow has to be in the data name, but you will have two or three. Now they will not compete. It's only one spot. You don't have two spots.
They will compete if the triggering relationships are not appropriately defined. Yes. So one of the things about the data flow, if I look at a data flow here, is the triggering for it. Like I have a data flow called ASDF. Now there's multiple places, but I can specify the trigger. So I can say this runs here, this runs on this selection, and then the same data flow could run on the drop-down list behind this here, the second one on its selection. So either one would trigger the same data flow to then pass hello world or to null out, in your example, the text box. That's totally that's not a problem. You have to control that.
Okay, but
trigger.
These data flows from these drop-down boxes, they have to have the same name in this case?
The output data name.
Yeah, show me the data name. Show me the data name of the hello world.
Right here. This is what it currently is.
You see, it's only one flow here. Flow STR. So what does it mean? From the drop-down boxes, you have two flows, but I believe they have to share the same name in this case. Is that correct?
They have to share the same form data name, which field you see here. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that was the challenge for me. Now makes sense. So
You
okay,
would
so
change
now
this to be, whatever, text box override or something, right?
okay, so now makes sense. So you have two drop-down boxes. I understand you have two flows, but in order both of them to point to the same field, they have to have the same name in the data
Correct.
name here.
Yes, correct.
Oh, now it's clear. This is the piece which I missed, and I didn't know how to. Okay, if you don't mind, one more question quickly. If I have a form on the screen, what is the best way to magnify the form, to make the texture, the label and everything a little bit bigger? What you would do to increase on the screen?
I would set the form font. So if you click into the empty space or get to properties, you can set default form font here. And anything that, if you're not using custom CSS or you're not overriding form font at the control or label level, you could set the form font for the entire form here.
Okay, at appearance. Okay, appearance. Okay, thank you, sir. I think
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
is fine now. That's it with
Okay.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, John. Happy to help. Okay. Yeah, so that was just me walking through an example with John about how to use multiple data flows to update one control. So you might have multiple triggers that fire off, in his example, a clear out event of a particular form control. What other, so Jeremy, I saw that you had a raised hand, I think maybe. Did you have a question? Not sure if you do, or maybe I just saw that. Or anyone has a question. As always, you guys can ask the question in chat. Just use the raise hand function or ask it in the Q&A section. I really need to start eating before these things. I'm always so hungry by the time these are over. I should call this, you get to eat lunch and learn. We talk, you eat lunch. You talk, we talk, you eat. Sabrina doesn't like that idea. David's question is breakfast on the West Coast. Yes, indeed. So Dave has a question, which is field from John's question could be nulled out. Yes, you can just pass a null or an empty string instead of an actual string of that data flow. Absolutely. It's functionally no different. It would just be passing an empty or null string out of the data flow.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Because I think I can't remember what it was. I think a couple of months ago, I think we had to deal with that where we wanted to reset something, but I think it was I forget exactly what kind of control it was, but we were having trouble resetting it or nulling it back. Or we would do that, but it would still, we wanted it to output null from the form, but it would still basically output its default value. Like if I had a number box and visually I wanted that to be 0, and if you take another trigger action and you say, oh, well, somebody entered something, but I clicked another box, I want to reset it back to 0. I don't necessarily want it to pass out 0 from the output of the form once they hit the button to go down that outcome path. I actually want it to be null, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Now, allowed null is, believe it or not been around for a really long time. So Dave, I'm not sure how old the version you guys are working on. I know.
Yeah, we're on 6.15 right now, I believe.
Okay, then you should have allow null. So if I have a data flow that'll run and set my number box to a null, is what we're saying, but it'll pass 0 out.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, that should take whatever the value is, but let's see. Create new form. Yep.
And I may be misremembering that too. I'm just curious.
No, that's all right. So I'm gonna create integer value here, call, and then I'm going to set it to be can be null true. And then I'm going to pass out a null. Okay. And then I'm going to steal its name. I'm going to trigger it on, I'll just say text box value change. Put it here. Now, also, yeah, okay. So if I debug this, it should run and show me 0. Oh, it doesn't show me anything because it's null. I can type in 11.1. Oh, let me see if I submit this, does 11.1 come out? 11.1 comes out. Try this again. Okay, put 11.1. It'll null that out. Get my selections here. Ah, okay. So it has to be, it can be null, but it needs to not be required. It needs to be optional. So change this to optional. Okay, so 11.1, just make our selections here. These don't have anything to do with anything. Oh, they have the same data name. Interesting. Null that out, submit. So looks like at least in the current version of 7, this works as you expect it to.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there. I guess my thought is in that specific number field, like we'd like it to go back to, I guess from a visual perspective for the end user, start out with a value of 0, and if they reset it, show them a value of 0. But if they don't put anything there, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to null it. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, because it just comes back null or completely empty instead of with 0, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
what if it is, could we use a watermark to do this? Something similar? What does this look like? So that's it with a null value, and it has a watermark. So if I put 11.1 in, and then I go 1, it'll bring the watermark would null out, but still show that there. That might.
I see. Okay, I got you.
And you could probably, if you needed to, play around with the CSS of the watermark to make it show normal instead of like disabled like it does right now.
I got you.
So that might help there.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. It's weird to watch my mouse move on my phone. Okay, yeah, great questions, guys. What else? Who else has got questions for us today? More the merrier.
I got one more.
Yeah,
just
please.
out of curiosity, and I don't know that we're even close to exploring this. I think when 7 was first released, they said there was a thing about multi-tenancy with that. Do you know if that is good to go now if we decided to explore that road?
Multi-tenancy is not yet been added back into V7.
Okay.
It's supposed to be end of this year. There are some open questions about that right now, though, as it relates to version 8 being, coming out really in February. So it's current. There is not multi-tenant support in version 7 currently.
Nice. Okay. Do you happen to know if that would, I guess you said there's discussions around it. Do you know if that would be restored in 8 potentially?
Correct. There's definitely multi-tenancy coming in 8. The question is, are we bringing it back? The plan was to have it available in 7 by the end of this year. I think we've made more headway on V8 than we were expecting to. In fact, the product team mentioned today that they have merged some of the significant code changes to let us run fully Dockerized today. So we have a consolidated trunk. We've consolidated like our experimental trunk and our actual trunk as of the last day or two, which is a big step towards our version 8 release. But yes, multi-tenancy is coming back for sure, and no matter what in V8. The question is, will it also be in 7 or not?
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for us for today?
Okay, one more about that.
Oh, please. Yeah, please.
I'm not. I haven't even looked at the documentation on it. So if you don't mind, with the multi-tenancy thing, is that does everything just go into the same database and you have a different identifier for different things, or are you actually, I guess, separating those out somehow? Like, do you mind just giving me the down and dirty of how that works?
And that's for current
Or how it would work, I guess, in 8 or.
I actually don't know yet how there in multi-tenancy there's a separate database. Likely what that means is I would have a multi-tenant control instance. I'd have a control instance in V8. I would spin up a container and a unique database for that container. Right now, multi-tenancy has separate database backends for every tenant that you run.
Okay.
And then you control those things from the primary or control instance.
I got you.
But all of those databases are on a SQL server, and all of the tenants themselves run as Windows service copies. But you would be able to spawn tenants up and spawn them up or deploy them at will from a centralized control instance in V8. What that actually, in each of those would definitely have their own database. What that looks like in more detail than that right now, I am currently unclear on.
I got you. Okay, that makes total sense. I think that's what I was asking too.
Yeah, we've actually been working to get some pretty decent multi-tenant docs. Yeah, here's an example. I mean, just this diagram of how it works right now. Control instance, all of these instances are on the same server. Each of them, including the control instance, has their own database backend. So you get that data segregation.
Got it. Yeah, that's perfect. That's what I wanted to hear.
And in fact, every decision server historically has been a multi-tenant server. If you look, that's why you have /primary in all of the URLs that you generate. It'll be like /decision/primary, and you usually for the tenant, primary becomes the defined tenant name. So tenant 1, tenant 2, tenant 3.
Okay, I got you.
A little bit of trivia there, if you will.
Cool. So the multi-tenancy now, like if I were to want to use it in version 6, that's not containerized.
That's totally fine.
The same way that it would
correct.
be. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's all of the windows. There's like in these docs here, we recommend, like we have customers primarily use multi-tenancy to manage hosting costs. So because maybe I could run multiple customers on the same server.
Yeah.
As opposed to servers for each customer, because from an end user's perspective, they are completely unique. They're like, they don't know that that server is hosting another Windows service that happens to run decisions.
Yeah, I got you. Cool.
What else do we got? Maybe not questions, but I mean, is there a feature that you've seen that you'd like to see me try to figure out? Or just anything in general, like maybe not even a design, but like something that just doesn't make sense, whatever, anything, all the above.
I think I guess for us still being on 6, we haven't brought down a version of 7 to test, but I know there's the active form flow things. Can you just kind of highlight the differences between that and older versions, I guess 6 specifically to our use case, what the difference is and what the advantages of that may be.
The advantage, like previously, when you were going to develop all these dynamic form capabilities, you'd have to use, first off, you'd have to know what all of these are for. Data flows to populate or to update, visibility rules to hide, show, or disable, validation rules to prevent me from submitting, outcome rules to submit the form automatically when certain situations occur. And then you collapse those all, it's just becomes so much easier. So instead of writing, like for John's example, like a data flow or a data flow, I have 2 data flows or 1 data flow used twice to null out this one thing. An active form flow gets all of the form data automatically. And then I just use steps to interact. So I both enhance the amount of interactivity I have available to me. So if I look under form rules here, I have, if I look at Data Explorer, I have form data. So I have all the combo boxes and text boxes automatically. So I don't have to define the inputs manually on my viz or validation rules or my data flows. I get it all for free. And then I just build normal flows. So I use the flow design pattern instead of like rules and flows together, depending on what I need to do. So I could say like, hide or like update control. Where's it at? Set control value, right? So here, like I could do something like, to one of John's example, like I could have like, what's the right way to do this? So let me look at Data Explorer, form data. So combo box 1, selected item. Yeah, so I could like check the selected item. So I could do like a string equals. Oh, let me be back in the toolbox here. So I could do a string equals. And maybe daisy chain these things together. And let's just say like, I don't know, if the selection from the form data combo box 1, selected item, like if it equals A, or if I just copy that, or say, or it equals, I'll just say A or B, right? I could then go and I could set that control value to, if I open up form, oops, sorry, I could set that text box to be null, right? So now I can more easily cascade or do more complicated behaviors, and I can have them all be, they could still be in multiple flows, but I could more easily wrap them all up into a single flow. So that instead of troubleshooting rules and flows together and bouncing around in the debugger, I can do all that work here. That sort of one design pattern for all form interaction is the first big piece. And then also the additional pieces, the additional behaviors I can get. So I can apply, I can use the flow engine to apply validations or apply visibility or to set control values. And I can do all of that, and I get all of that input data for free. So the combination of all those things makes this a much easier way to design more dynamic forms. Where before, like, it was pretty difficult in 6 and before to figure out your dependency relationship. So looking at this form, right, there's no easy way for me to see, like when we were talking before with John's example about which of these is triggering. I couldn't really track the dependency relationships. In fact, sometimes what we would see is the customer would have a circular dependency. So they'd have a trigger change on this that changed a value on this, which ran a flow that changed a value on this. And it can be quite difficult in really complicated forms to track that down. And so this makes that much simpler, this new design pattern. So, I think that's the big, it's streamlined, inputs for free, only one pattern to use, and then more form interactivity, more form steps available to you in those form flows. So I think that all those things together make it just a more efficient design pattern.
That makes sense. And as far as triggering those to happen, it's kind of this, I'm still defining a trigger for those things to fire, right?
You are, let's see, if we look at our, did I not save that? Yeah, you still fire this flow on a particular trigger. So you still have the triggers listed here in this view. So you can say run this flow on this trigger for this type. But then what you can do is you still have all the data. So you can say if this is changed, but the combo box 2, or if combo box 1 value changes and combo box 1 value does not equal, then do something. Otherwise, do the other thing. So you can still inspect all of the values for the other properties, no matter what the triggering might be. Like you still have access to text box and number box values. So you can say if the combo box was changed, but if all these other values would remain the same or something, like don't do anything. You still have access to all these other inputs as well.
That's cool.
I'm just gonna let everyone. Should we just start letting everyone have ability to speak? Sabs. Experiment time. I think we'll just start that. These groups are small enough. We can just mute people whenever we want to, right? This has been helpful for me just to talk it out with you, Dave. So yeah, go ahead, Josh.
False alarm. I was just changing my mute. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Will, can you please show me, just if you don't mind, because you have the form in front of you. So show me both flows of these drop-down boxes, please. So first, click it.
Okay, let me get this set up. So this is selected drop down 1, selected drop down 2. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you want, if I run either one of them, I'm going to null out my text box.
Yes.
Okay. So I will, let me get this set up. So I'll come down to my data flow and I have 2 data flows. That's correct.
They have to be 2, yeah. One from one drop-down box, another.
Right. So let me copy that. And okay, that's right. So let me look at my other data flow. Oh, that's int null. So let me get rid of my null data flow here. I'll change the name of this to DD1 null out. All right, and then I'm going to add another one here called DD2 null out. I'm just going to pick the same flow, which will be form data flow 1, I think. I'm going to update the input. There's my string. It has the same output. Okay. And then I'm going to trigger this on, let me edit. Yeah, it should be, I don't have any input, so I need to trigger this on combo box. So I need to name my combo boxes here. Combo box 1, combo box 2. I go back to my data flows. And I'm going to edit the first one and trigger this on combo box 1 selection change and to not run at startup. I'm going to edit this one to run on combo box 2 selection change. Oh my God, really? Combo box 2 selection change. Okay, and then I need to let it have some input data. So I'm going to come to legacy. Nope, I'm going to come to active flow manage data, maybe. Let's just try this. Let's see if this will give me what I want. I think we might change the name on that. That should be called form input data in earlier versions, I believe. Yeah, okay. So this will set it to, that's double. That's not what I want. Just a moment here. How do I get form input data back? Try something. Lost form. I know we didn't lose form input data. That's all right. It's going to start null, and then no matter which I trigger, it should put hello world into it. So it's null. There's hello world, right? If I run this again, it's null. I click X, it'll do hello world as well. Now you just imagine hello world is a null value there. It should be exactly the same.
Yeah, so the output of the flows has to be the same. Okay.
Yeah, if we look at this again, this text box has the same data name as both of the data flows pointed at those things. That's the big thing you need. So if I look here, I'm using the output data name from I'm making sure both of these flows, if they could be different, of course, have the same exact output data name.
Yeah, I understood. Well, I have a question. This is not related. It's something else. But so I have a form where I have a field on the form, and the user doesn't like to have the field there because he complained it's not part of the requirement. Okay.
Okay.
And what I did, I said, okay, I will make it invisible. The problem here is if I make it invisible, I have a flow which automatically fill up the field.
Okay.
I'm not sure at this moment. Do you think if I run the flow, I had a chance, this is the idea, the concept which I have in mind. If I do this, even if it's invisible, the flow will fill the field. What do you think?
We've gone back and forth on this in our design, in our product a few times. I can't say for certain. I don't think.
Okay. I will test it.
Yeah.
And I will come at you. Okay. Give me time tomorrow. Eventually, if I find troubles, I will apply the concept and then I will figure out. If it doesn't work, I will come with something concrete. Thank you. Yeah, makes sense.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, great. Anybody else? Any other questions before we call it a day? All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great afternoon. I think Morgan is in tomorrow. Well, I don't know. Someone else is in tomorrow. Not me. So hopefully they'll be more helpful. Great. Thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon.